I totally, like, it just was what it was, right? And I brought them to the memory care center where my grandma was living at the time. She had Alzheimer's, and I brought them in through the front doors, up the stairs with my kids, and put the bouquet on a table. And within 5 minutes, there were probably 10 or 12 people just sitting down around this little like coffee table, all with memory, Alzheimer's or dementia, talking about flowers and how they remembered growing whatever kind of flower their mom or their grandma grew. And like, that was like so etched in my brain. I will never, ever forget. Like, yep, this is what it's all about. Creating those connections with one, probably it was a mason jar with probably 5 or 6 zinnias in it. It wasn't much, but it was enough.
Hey friend, welcome to the Growing Kindness Podcast. I'm your host, Deanna Kitchen, founder of the Growing Kindness Movement. This is a place where we grow together, learning to root our lives in kindness, connection, and community. If you've ever wished the world felt a little softer, a little more neighborly, or if you're craving stories that remind you that goodness still grows, you're in the right place. Together with our guests, we'll share stories of generosity and community, proof that even the smallest acts of kindness, from growing and giving cut flowers to everyday acts of care, can change lives and connect us in powerful ways. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. This season is made possible by Heirloom Roses, our Season 2 sponsor. We're deeply grateful for their generosity that helps carry the Growing Kindness mission forward and makes these stories possible. Welcome back to the Growing Kindness Podcast. It is a delight and an honor to get to introduce you to one of our longtime team members who has been growing kindness in her community for such a long time. Amy, we're so glad to have you with us here today. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about who you are and the corner of the world where you're growing kindness?
Sure. Happy to do that. Hi, Deanna. I'm Amy, and I am from Stillwater, Minnesota. It's a small little riverside town on the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota. And I live in a little small community. We have a little house, and I have 3 kids. They're all in middle school, 2 boys and a girl. I have twins, Ani and Arlo, and my oldest is Abe. My husband is Aaron, and we call ourselves the A-Team.
I love that. How fun is that?
Let's see what else. We have 5 backyard chickens, 1 accidental rooster, which is kind of a funny story, and a dog named Penny. I work during the day as a special education para at the school just around the corner at an elementary school where all my kids went, and I absolutely love it there. And that's me.
That's so fun. It's so fun. I actually somehow didn't realize all your kids are in middle school already. Funny, because I think back, when you first meet people or get connected, that's where you kind of get stuck. I'm like, oh no, your kids are still,
that's their permanent age.
Your kids are still smaller than that in my head. But yeah, yes. All middle school. How fun.
Yes.
How fun.
It's crazy.
Yes.
We just signed up my oldest for high school last week. So that's kind of sinking in like, oh my gosh, we're here.
And you blink and then your oldest will be graduating. That's the boat we're in right now.
Oh my gosh.
It goes so fast. And one of the things I loved about someone shared with me once about motherhood is like, sometimes the days are really long, but the years are always short. The years go so quickly.
That is so true. And I find myself now just trying to hold on to these little glimmers and these little moments and spending all the time together that we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Amy, it's so fun to get to hear more of your story. I think one of the things that look at the power of story and the way that it brings us into connection and how we've been telling stories since time began. I'm really excited to hear more of your story. So where does your growing kindness story begin, really, would you say?
My actual growing kindness story began in 2021 was when I first stumbled across the Growing Kindness Instagram page. It was obviously during COVID, during the shutdown. At the time, this was 5 years ago, so my children were pretty little. I was home and just feeling very disconnected and seeking and yearning for a real sense of connection and community. It was really hard. It's kind of a dark time, and I stumbled across the Growing Kind. I don't even know how. Like, how does this even happen? Like the algorithms and whatnot. But it it was meant to be that it stumbled across my page, and I knew in my gut right away that it was something that I needed to look into and learn more about. And I think probably either that same day or the next day, I applied to be a Growing Kindness ambassador because applications were open at that time. I really just felt in my heart that it was the right thing to do, and I've never looked back. I've been a part of it ever since.
That's so beautiful. I love the way that the things that are meant for us, they arrive at the timing is always right. But how beautiful that it really, truly, it came at just the right time for you. What do you feel like was it that like really tugged at you and made you say yes? What was the element that you're like, this is for me and I want to be a part of this movement and this community?
I've thought about this a lot over the years, and I think that the thing that really tugged at my heartstrings, it's kind of two parts. So the first part is the ripple effect that we often talk about at the Growing Kindness Movement Project, the ripple effect of kindness and how our one small act of giving a bouquet of flowers to a neighbor, to our secretary at work, to the person working at the gas station, like how the ripple effect can then go beyond and beyond and beyond. And that was the piece that was like, yep, this is something that I definitely want to be a part of because I've been on the receiving end of small, big, medium acts of kindness. And I feel like it's what makes the world go round, and that what we need more and more of every day. It's the reason I'll probably be a Growing Kindness person forever because I cannot give that up, that ripple effect, and thinking about how that can make the world a better place. And so that's part one. And then the other part is how, when I read about is it Arthur Ashby quote?
Arthur Ashe.
Where you are with what?
Yeah.
Ashe. Thank you. The Arthur Ashe quote that you say a lot. And
way too much, probably.
No.
It's my favorite.
I think it's important.
Yeah, I love it.
Start where you are with what you have. Is that it?
Yeah, start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can.
Yes. And I just love that. And I think that for me, having 3 kids, a very busy life, that was like, yep, this is even more for me because I don't need to have a perfect Instagram, perfect flower farm, or I didn't have anything really. In 2021, I had no gardens, nothing, and just started totally from scratch. And I felt like it was doable. It was something that I could do because it's just starting with what I have. And that was really profound for me. Okay, I don't need to buy 5 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres and like have all this knowledge already in me. I can learn it and I can use what I have in our tiny backyard.
I love that. So when you started in 2021, I guess this is a part of your story. I'm like, did I realize that? You'd never grown flowers. I think that's even more beautiful. So you jumped right in. What was of course we've got to have, like, what was your first garden like? How big did you go or how little? Because I think it's such a good reminder for us all. Like you said, it doesn't have to be about having this massive garden. So what did that first garden look like for you?
Well, luckily for me, I have a very handy husband who is a woodworker, and I had him build me, I think at the time it was 2 raised beds. They're 4x8 raised beds in our south-facing backyard. And so that's what I started with. I don't have much more than that right now, actually, because I find that I don't really need that much more. But yeah, it was 2 raised beds, and I did one bed was dahlias, and then the other one was a combo of zinnias and cosmos. And that's all I had. And it totally felt like enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the thing that it can be so intimidating with growing flowers is this idea that it's got to be, and there's so much education out there that is really focused on flower farming or farming for, or like growing flowers for profit. And it can kind of be a little bit intimidating, but really the reality is, and it really does come back to that, like Arthur Ashe quote of just start with what you have, start small. I actually my regret as an early gardener is trying to go too big too soon. And then it's overwhelming. When you start with a little bit, it's easy to have a hunger and do more rather than be just overwhelmed with massive amounts of weeding or watering or even harvesting and knowing what to do with a huge volume of flowers. So I love that you just really, you jumped right in both feet first, but you did it in a way that made sense for you and your family and what you had to give at that time. So beautiful.
Yeah, it's just what felt right at the time. And yeah, like I said, we don't really have much more than that now. I have a couple more raised beds that I use, one for herbs and one just for fillers. And then we have a community garden plot, but that's it. I didn't really go much further than that. And every year I do something different. I don't grow the same dahlias every year. I don't grow the same cosmos or zinnias. I try to do one or two new things every year.
It keeps it fun and interesting, but also you're within that range of like, hey, I know these flowers work for me. I'm going to branch off and try some different varieties or colors, but like, hey, I know these are going to grow for me. So that's so great. Well, once you got those beds in the ground and once those first blooms came up, I'd love to hear about what that felt like. Do you remember what was your first bouquet that you gave? Okay.
Oh, totally. I remember my very first bouquet was early July of 2021. And I had just gotten back from a week at the cabin and our neighbors had been watering all our flowers. And I got back and all the zinnias had bloomed. And I was just like, oh, this is it. This is awesome. So my entire bouquet was all zinnias. I totally, it just was what it was, right? And I brought them to the memory care center where my grandma was living at the time. She had Alzheimer's, and I brought them in through the front doors, up the stairs with my kids, and put the bouquet on a table. And within 5 minutes, there were probably 10 or 12 people just sitting down around this little coffee table, all with memory Alzheimer's or dementia, talking about flowers and how they remembered growing whatever kind of flower their mom or their grandma grew. And that was so etched in my brain. I will never, ever forget. Yep, this is what it's all about. Creating those connections with one, probably it was a mason jar with probably 5 or 6 zinnias in it. It wasn't much, but it was enough.
It's always enough. When we give what we can, it's that reminder. I think it feels so contrary to all the messaging we receive from everything else is not skinny enough, not fast enough, not rich enough, not whatever enough. And it's so beautiful when we get to see how life actually works, that it is enough. And when we just show up with what we have, 5 zinnias. I bet you would have put 1 zinnia in a jar. It would have been the same. I got goosebumps when just picturing all those sweet souls gathered around this little bouquet and the way that it drew them in and it drew them out, into each other in conversation and sharing. Especially sweet thinking about these are people who are navigating memory challenges. So that it so quickly triggered something at their core that was special to them and they were able to share. That is just a beautiful reminder of how powerful just a little bit can do.
But a little bit, it's always enough. And just the memory of doing that will stay with me forever. She's not here with us anymore, but I have that memory. Every year when I grow these gardens, it comes back and it's such a beautiful thing. And I'm so grateful for it to have that. And it's just something that's in me and now hopefully in my kids and my family. And they can see that it's always enough and it's always meaningful to do what you can with what you have. It's always enough. I'm so grateful for that. And hopefully other people can see that, the community, and that the ripple effect goes on and on.
Truly, truly. As you were sharing that too, picturing for your kids what that first experience was like for them. Amy, I know that you've actually brought your kids really along for the ride from the very beginning. I would love to hear more about how that looked for you guys as a family and what age your kids were when you started growing together. So as a mom who really honestly, Growing Kindness really was born from my own need as a mother who was walking through, and this was pre-COVID, but walking through feeling really isolated, finding a way that I could reach out in my community, but also this just deep pull in my heart of figuring out exactly what you're saying is how do we as a family raise children who know that they are empowered to do something? And I don't know that they'll be 25-year-old men growing flower gardens, but I hope they'll be the 25-year-old men someday who look over and see someone who needs the door held. Just that learning that I can always do something for someone else. So can you share more of what happened? You planted the first garden. Were the kids involved? How did that go?
Yeah, they were involved. So the twins were in kindergarten at the time when I planted my first year as an ambassador. And then my oldest was just 2 years older than that. So second grade. And they definitely helped build the raised beds, help move all the soil and the dirt in and get it all ready. And my daughter and I planted most of the beds, I would say. I feel like my daughter has been my right-hand gal and still is. She still loves it. And my sons do too. But that was really important for me to include my kids, not only my kids, but all the neighborhood kids. So we were in this little like COVID bubble. We have neighbors to this side that have 3 kids the same age as our kids. And then across the street, there's another family with 3 kids, similar ages. They all hung out all the time. It was really important for me to pull the whole community in. So they were all part of it, building the raised beds and like watering and harvesting. And then what came to be the Growing Kindness crew. The North Hill Growing Kindness neighborhood crew is like what they like call themselves. And they made signs. We built a cart. We painted the cart. They chose the color. My husband kind of added on to it. A friend of mine made some little like scalloped banners for it. And whatever was growing at the time, so I have a few perennials around the yard, but not much. They would harvest. We'd get the mason jars and set them at the end of the driveway, and they would put the bubble machine on, and people walking by, they would just holler out free flowers or come get your Growing Kindness bouquets. And they did it the whole summer. And for 3 summers afterwards, they have done the same thing.
Oh my goodness. I can't, you can't stop smiling because,
pretty funny. Yeah.
The energy and the excitement and you can just picture the joyfulness, their joyfulness in getting to do this. And the whole time they're learning this just beautiful, powerful lesson of how simple and easy it is to reach out and help other people and how fun and joyful it is to spread kindness. Like the bubble machine, just that top, like it was a party.
Yes. That just added a little extra flair.
I love that. Okay. So since then, is the flower stand kind of one of the predominant ways that you guys gift flowers in your community? Or are there other ways that you have found either yourself or together as a family that you've really loved giving flowers?
I'd say that's one of the main ways. I feel like I have kind of 3 main ways that we give now. Yeah, one is the free flower stand at the end of our driveway or up on the corner, which gets more visibility. And then the second way is every summer I host a twinkly front porch soiree, and I invite whoever wants to come. A lot of my girlfriends, their friends, coworkers, everybody comes and brings 2 vases or vessels. And I do a bouquet bar, and I call it the Growing Kindness Bouquet Bar. And they make 1 bouquet. I do a little bouquet tutorial. And then 1 bouquet they keep, and then the other one, they get a Growing Kindness tag to put on it, and they give that one away. So the last few summers, I've probably had around 25 to 30 women that come to this. So that's 60 bouquets, but 30 bouquets that they then give away in kindness to whoever, neighbors, and wherever they're heading back to. So that's the second way that I have absolutely loved hosting that event. And I should say, going back to the use what you have, I've never spent like any time or money in getting extra things for that. People bring their own vases, and all I have to do is like do like this like Batman beacon and call for people like to bring vases or like extra perennials or fillers or greens. And people are very willing to just go out in their yards and clip whatever they have to bring a big bunch to put in a bucket. So we have enough. There's always enough. I have never had to get anything extra from any greenhouse. It's just reiterating the fact that a little bit goes a long way and that there is truly always enough.
I think too, it really illustrates the beauty of when we invite others in. I think your story especially highlights that, Amy, is that when you invited your kids in alongside of this and then the neighbor kids, the joy was amplified, but also this seeding this thought of this beautiful way that you can reach out and help others. And then again, instead of saying, I'm going to make 60 bouquets by myself and give them, instead, you got to have the joy, invite 25, 30 people into the joy of getting to just be. Flowers have such a huge impact on us. It's hard to even have words for. They make us feel at rest and inspired, and they're just get to work with flowers in community. It just brings everybody, like it welcomes an openness and conversation. And so not only did you get to help send out these ripples further into your community, but then get to invite other people into the joy of just getting to experience flowers, I think is so cool. I mean, really, when you said like, it's really important to you that those ripples of kindness continue, and that's what inspired you. It's so cool to see that's what's happening in your life and in your community because of you saying yes and doing what you can and starting where you are.
I need to say there are summers where I feel like I haven't done quite as much as other summers, but I want to, like, that's okay. Like 1 bouquet or 100 bouquets, it's all good.
And I think that sometimes we forget that rhythm of nature is the same in our lives also, right? Like we expect that we're always growing, always blooming, always producing. And yet nothing in nature does that. It hibernates for the winter, or it has a season of bloom and then a season of rest. And I think thank you for saying that and normalizing that, because there are seasons where we have capacity to give more abundantly. And then other times where maybe we don't have the capacity to give with that frequency or that volume of flowers or whatever it may be, but we still have the opportunity to have those moments of intentionality. So like whether that's one single bloom and being really intentional about looking for the person in need. But I love that you mentioned that we go through those seasons of abundance and so maybe seasons of need even. And they're both such a part of our story of who we are and how we show up in our community.
Another thing that I've done that has actually been really, really a beautiful thing is I ask people in my community, either on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, text, whatever it is, I'll ask people, hey, do you know someone that could use a little extra love? And I'd be happy to make them a growing kindness bouquet and I'll deliver it, or you can come pick it up. And I don't know. I just feel like a lot of times we overthink things like, oh my gosh, I just don't even know who to give it to, or what are they going to think? Or it's just, you don't have to look too far to find someone that could use a little extra dose of kindness. So even asking, like, just point blank, like, hey, and then somebody comes back to me, yep, my mother-in-law just passed away. Would you mind whipping up a bouquet for me using whatever you have? And it's always very well received. And I'm so grateful to be able to do that for somebody else that is just missing this thing that sometimes when you're going through hard things, it's nice to have something physically in your hand to give to someone.
I have found that very much that experience is that there's something about we want to show up for people, and there's something really empowering about flowers in our hand and helping us to be able to do that. This fall, I realized that I didn't know a lot of our neighbors, and we've been in our area for 10 years. So like, yikes, like it was something I wanted to remedy. And yet it did feel really hard just to go knock on people's door and say, hey, I'm your neighbor. But it felt so much easier if I had flowers in my hand. Like it's just this tangible tool. And goodness, isn't it cool the way that flowers just break down barriers and open doors, like quite literally sometimes open doors for conversations and connections, and just for letting people know, hey, even if it's an outreach, I see you. And this is for you.
I see you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That is cool. Yeah, it is just a way to, break down those barriers.
Amy, as you share your story, I can just see over and over again. You mentioned before that, that what drew you the most to growing kindness was the opportunity to send out these ripples of kindness. Or I should say, and as you share, it's very evident that's what's happening in your family and in your neighborhood and in your community through your kindness. And it's also easy to see the forward-reaching impact that it's going to have on your kids. It just makes me consider how we all end up in the place where we are. What were the ripples of kindness that touched your life that helped you to have an awareness of how important it is to continue that legacy of sending ripples of kindness forward?
When I was 25, my dad tragically passed away. And at his funeral, dozens and dozens of people came up to the front of the church to talk about him and how his gentle kindness affected them in a profound way. it wasn't anything big. It was him stopping on the way home from work to help change a tire or to fix a car. It was him bringing his own car to help somebody move. It was helping somebody paint their house, build a new deck. It wasn't anything huge. It was a small, gentle kindness that he had in him that people saw and that made a profound effect on their lives and on our lives too, as his children and his family. And I'm deeply affected by that. And I want to continue that gentle, kind legacy in myself and in our own family.
And obviously you are, Amy. Like, it's so beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you. Part of your story.
It's a big part of it. And it's something that is not hard to talk about, but it's something that's just always there, always a constant reminder. And in missing him, doing the Growing Kindness Project helps me feel closer to him in a way, if that even makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely it does. I just think it's so important when we share all of our story because it's what makes us who we are. And also it's so beautiful to see that, like when you said, like, ripples of kindness are important to me, it's because you've watched it. Now you're being intentional about carrying it forward. And I think all of the people that we've loved, they are part of our story, a part of our heart, a part of our lives, and getting to carry them forward like that and remember them like that it doesn't ever take away what's missing, but it reminds us of the beauty of what was in that relationship in our time with that person.
Yeah. It's important just to acknowledge that and I feel it in my heart that this is somehow connects us and it's a good thing.
And at our core as humans, that's what we're all longing for, is more connection. And thank you for your story today and your vulnerability and sharing the parts that are tender and that you hold close to, because I think sometimes we're longing for connection and yet we sometimes maybe feel like afraid to share all of who we are, or maybe sometimes feel like some of the parts are more, like, air quotes, like Instagram worthy. They're prettier. They're just all of the outcome or the end product, rather than that kind of high and low experiences that make us who we are and bring us to where we are. And I think when we all show up and share our story, and the gift of someone listening, like you, listener, today, when you hold space to hear somebody's story, it's this exchange of kindness, and it brings us into deeper connection. It's just such a beautiful spiral in the most positive way, because the more that we're honest and open and share all of who we are and share what we have and show up as we are, whether that's with the hard parts of our stories or the single bloom that grew that year, like whatever it is that we show up with, it invites other people into connection. And then that just creates this ripple or spiral that comes right back. So it's really lovely. Amy, thank you for sharing all of this with us today. We always end on a little question that I think actually just reveals so much beauty. And that question is, what is one small kindness that someone once shared with you that you still carry with you in your heart today?
That's such a good question. I'd have to say my grandma always wrote handwritten notes when I was in college, and she would send them every so often just to let me know that she cares and that is thinking about me. And so that little small act of kindness, not so small, but it just carries with me today and forever. And so whenever I write a little handwritten note, I just feel like a little bit piece of her with me, and hope that it sends some kindness and love just out to whoever it's intended for.
It's a beautiful reminder. Kindness does not have to be big to change somebody's life and it impact them in the most beautiful ways. Thank you so much for listening to the Growing Kindness podcast. If today's episode encouraged you, there are a few simple ways to keep growing kindness with us. First, you can join the team. When you become a Growing Kindness gardener, you link arms with like-minded, like-hearted people from all around the world who believe that small acts of kindness really do make a big difference. To learn more or join the team, visit growingkindnessproject.org/gardener. Thanks to the generosity of our donors, membership is free. Another way to get involved is to become a donor. The Growing Kindness movement and this, our podcast, are made possible by the generosity of our donors, kind-hearted people who believe, just like you, kindness matters. If you'd like to support the movement, visit growingkindnessproject.org/donate to make a gift and keep kindness blooming. And finally, if this episode touched your heart, would you share it with a friend? It's one of the simplest ways to spread kindness today. I'm so grateful you're here. Until next time, keep growing kindness, one bloom at a time.